What's going on, YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I am finally going to be bringing you my top 10 favorite budget knives of all time. I've danced around this for a long time. There have been some videos that have kind of hinted at it. I did some gateway folder videos, but I wanted to make sure I had a really good grasp on the 10 knives that I would honestly recommend to people over any other knife and my reasons behind that. So I feel like I've got a firm grasp. Keep in mind, this video and these knives are based on knives that I've actually handled. And while I've handled a lot of knives, I mean, there's over 400 videos on this channel, I have not handled every single budget knife in the entire world that's considered good by the knife community. So if your knife is not in this video, don't get upset, because this list is subject to change. I'll likely do an updated version once or twice a year just to tell people kind of where I'm at. But all of these knives have a purpose behind them. They're knives that I legitimately recommend to people, and each one of them, despite this being obviously an iPad video, each one of these knives are knives that I have actually handled, and 9 of them actually have physical reviews on this channel. One of them was from before I had the channel, but you can physically go back and look at my review on the channel, me handling it, me talking about it, giving me my thoughts. There's always one person in the comment section that's like, oh, lame, it's on an iPad. I have to send these knives back to people who have offered them up for review, or I do giveaways. So some of these knives have been given away or sent back, or some of them I've sold for my own personal collection, but that's what's going on with that. Also, let me turn this light on real quick. I do have these awesome Metal Complex logo stickers available for sale right now. Anybody who wants one can contact me via email, which you can find in the link in the description. Send me the quantity you want and your address, and I can get however many you want sent to you. You can also join my Patreon at the $3 tier or higher. The Patreon link is also in the description. Speaking of Patreon, at the time of this video, which is Wednesday, I am currently at 38 patrons, which means I'm 2 patrons away from opening up a free-to-enter giveaway for everybody for this beautiful Slim Midi Medford Marauder. If you would like to be one of the last 2 patrons I need to hit that goal, you can follow the link in the description, read the bold text, and join any tier you want. Get a free shout-out if you want, but that'll help me reach my goal. Just know that anybody who's joining Patreon, you're not actually buying an extra chance to win. This is going to be free for everybody. So as long as you are subscribed to my channel, you'll at least get a notification when that day comes, which very well could have been today or yesterday, or I don't know, at the time of this recording. Anyways, I'm sure you're like, come on, let's get on with it. Number 10. Let me go ahead and turn this light off here so that it's easier to see. Number 10 is actually going to be the Kershaw Link, and here's the reason for it. The Kershaw Link is a USA-made assisted knife by Kershaw that comes in 420 HC steel at base, which Kershaw apparently heat treats pretty well. So according to the knife community, this is a pretty good steel for the price range at about $40 at base. This knife comes in a variety of different flavors, different handle scales. It is 6061 T6 aluminum, or I believe there's like a, is it like a rubberized texturized thing, or G10. There's another handle material, but lots of different stuff, and there's actually even a version of it in M390 for 80 bucks, making it, I think, the least expensive M390 knife that I have ever heard of. I know a lot of people don't like assisted knives, but to somebody coming into the knife world, an assisted knife is cool and fun, and then they get it in a package that's actually good. You know, it gives a good example of ergonomics and cutting belly. It's a good functional knife, and at $40, it's really, really hard to argue with. Moving on here to number 9, had to include the Lightning OTF. There is literally no other budget OTF that I would recommend to anybody. It's the budget OTFs are junk for the most part. The Lightning OTF, however, is one that has proven to me multiple times to be a knife that's actually worth your time. Now, here's the problem with it. Right now, as far as I know, you can only get these on Grindworks, and at the end, that's not KS, it's actually GRINWORX. You can get these for about $40. There's a ton of different handle material, handle colors, a ton of different blade shapes. You can get two-tone, you can get satin, a whole bunch of different stuff. So you can get what you want. Here's the problem. We don't know 100% what the steel is, and we don't know 100% what the aluminum is. The same guy on all of my Lightning videos keeps telling me, you know, that I need to do my research and that it's 6061. That's actually not been confirmed. Nobody really knows exactly what grade of aluminum these are. And there have been reports of them weighing more or less. So when you hear somebody say they're 6061, that's not 100% entirely true. I don't 100% know, which is why it's so low on this list. Same way with the steel. I have resharpened one of these. It comes back to a good cutting edge like just about any steel, but it goes dull pretty quick. But it's a very reliable OTF, making it an awesome working tool. My brother actually uses one every single day, so it's on the list. Speaking of automatics, moving on here to number 8, the Boker Kalashnikov is not one that I can ignore. I didn't like this knife at first, but after being shown multiple examples of Kalashnikovs that have just held up really well over time, I can't ignore it. I literally have a friend who's had one for 13 years. That video is on my channel. You can see what they look like after 13 years. That one was totally fine. The base version of this knife comes in AUS 8 and is confirmed to be 6061 T6 aircraft aluminum. So that's awesome. $40 for the base version. I'll say it's not the best steel, but you know, for a knife that's known for being just as durable as the actual Kalashnikov, apparently that's what they named it after, that's pretty cool. It also comes in an exclusive D2 version from Blade Ops for about $45, which is amazing. There's an S30V exclusive version for $70 through Blade Ops. And then there's a CTS XHP version for $60 at Blade HQ. Is the one that I did opt for and would opt for in the future if I decided to. I had one and then ended up selling it because I didn't like the blade play on it, and then I found out that the one after 13 years had the exact same amount of blade play and it held up to everything. So definitely recommendable. This is a great, just like the Lightning OTF being a great first example for an OTF and a reliable example of an OTF that's low cost, this is a very good example of a good side opening automatic knife for somebody handling one for the first time, and it's one that is reliable and is actually a good design. So at $40 at the base price, definitely recommendable. It also comes in a massive variety of colors and blade shapes, probably more versions of this than anything else on this list. So newcomers can definitely get their flavor. Moving on here, I'm sure you guys are like, what? Number 7, the Spyderco Tenacious. There's actually there's 3 in this line. These are the Chinese Spydercos that have, you know, kind of been around and been something that people like a lot in the knife world for the low end Spydercos. There's the Resilience, the Tenacious, and the, I can't remember what the little tiny one is, but this is the medium sized one. It's about 7 3/4 inches overall. It comes in HCR13 MOV, which is kind of a blast deal. They're about $47, but here's why it's on the list. This is a fantastic example of a Spyderco knife for a newcomer that's not ready to spend $100 on a knife that, you know, to a lot of newcomers just looks weird. Almost everybody that I've talked to, that I've tried to get into knives, I try and show them the Manix 2 or the Spyderco Paramilitary 2 first, and they're like, oh, what the heck is this? So weird. So it's easier to get them into Spyderco by convincing them maybe to spend $47 on a budget Spyderco. Then they get a great example of Spyderco's leaf-shaped blade, their flat grinds, you know, kind of their minimalist appearance, and they're generally good ergonomics. The Tenacious is right there in that sweet spot for a lot of people. It's a full-size knife, but it's not massive, and they can get used to that thumb hole and kind of figure out, you know, why that's a good manipulation tool. For deployment anyway. So at $47 and number 7, I think the Spyderco Tenacious is definitely still one that deserves a spot on my list. Coming in at number 6, the SIVB Backlash. SIVB being there's kind of an odd glare on this one, sorry about that. The SIVB Backlash is the budget line, or SIVB is the budget line for WE knives. These have impeccable fit and finish, unbelievable, coming in, running on bearings, G10, and oftentimes colored liners. There is an all black version for people who don't want those blue liners you're seeing in the picture, but they come in a few different colors, mostly a satin blade. The blade has a nice thumb rest up top where the jimping is, and a forward finger choil, which I think is awesome. It's also a manual flipper knife running on bearings, which I think is this is a fantastic example for people looking for a manual knife that's got that smooth action. You know, maybe they've been watching some videos and kind of getting, you know, this whole like, oh, the detent feels so good, and all the, you know, the bearings feel so good, and it's so smooth. This is a good budget example of that, and it kind of gets people into that part of that world. So unfortunately, it's 9CR13 MOV steel, which is kind of in the same black category as 8CR. It's fine. It's going to cut. The average person's not going to know the difference, you know, between that and super steel if you're just cutting open letters and doing just very basic EDC office style stuff. But if you're going to be doing more complicated cutting tasks, more heavy cutting, that's probably not going to be the best steel. But it's okay. Definitely deserving of the number 6 spot. Number 5, the SIVB Statera. This is an amazing knife, but it is also the most expensive at base price on the list, coming in at $68. This is a full-size knife at about 8.1 inches overall. The steel is D2, which is arguably one of the best steels you can get in this price range. It also, like the Backlash, runs on bearings, has an excellent example of flipping action, detent, ergonomics. It also has a forward choil. It's a little bit more stylish with the carbon fiber overlay. It's pretty thin and it is sitting on top of G10, but it just looks nice. This is one of the nicest looking budget knives that are out there, in my opinion. I truly love this knife. And for those people who want to spend just a little bit more and get the best of what this budget world has to offer in terms of appearance and kind of fit and finish and just overall polishing, I think the Statera honestly would be the way to go. So awesome knife for $68. Moving on here to number 4, the least expensive knife on the list, the Gonzo F H41. And I know a lot of people are like, there's two groups of people. One group is like, oh, you're showing a Gonzo, unsubscribed, I'm leaving, I can't, whatever. And there's a bunch of other people going, if you're going to show this Gonzo, there's like 1,000 different Gonzos you can show. So my take on Gonzo, you guys have heard this before, I don't like companies that kind of, you know, take ideas and you could call it, you know, have been, they were influenced by this knife design or whatever. The FH41 is close to another model, but it's such a simple knife design that it's really, I mean, it comes down to argument as far as whether or not it's an actual copy. It's very, very simple. There's a billion knives that look just like this out there. So to me, it's not that big of a deal. This knife is D2, G10, has excellent flipping action, is a full-size 8-inch knife, has a very compact size, very lightweight design with countersunk steel liners. It even has contouring on the handles and comes in at an average of $25. I have handled this knife. I did a giveaway for this knife. This thing is amazing. The build quality is incredible. At $25, it's really, really hard to argue. Somebody wanting kind of a more bulky knife, they may not want this. You know, this is a very slim knife, but with a full-size blade, about a 3.4-inch blade, something like that. But really, really excellent for the price. It's definitely something that, you know, I can't ignore and deserves a spot on this list. You can find these all over the place. You can find them on eBay, you can find them on Amazon, you can find them on Gonzo's site. You're going to see a bunch of different prices. There's a bunch of different colors. You can even get a faux carbon fiber scale, but that one's not contoured. Honestly, I'd recommend the G10 one. The contoured ones are better in my opinion, but they're going to range anywhere from about $22 to $28. So this is basically a $25 knife on average, but absolutely worth it, definitely. Moving on here to number 3, the Ontario Rat 2 in D2 steel. Now this knife does come in AUS-8 for a couple bucks less. It's like $36 for AUS-8, but $38 for D2. This is the smaller one, by the way, the one that's like 7.5 inches, making it an ideal EDC size and footprint. At $38, running on phosphor bronze washers, has full steel liners. They're not actual G10 scales, but they do have the peel ply texturing and they're plenty tough. And one of the best utilitarian blade shapes that are out there. I'm actually going to be able to give you a physical example of that here in just a moment. This is like, I mean, it's well known that this is one of the most popular EDC knives out there, and it remains to be. There's not a lot of knives that I honestly can say have beaten this knife truly. I mean, maybe by preference, or, you know, if people are like, well, you can get bearings now, you can get G10 now, but in terms of just like raw function and a utilitarian design, this thing is just excellent. I highly recommend it. In fact, the only there's only a couple of knives that beat it. They're the next two on the list. Moving on here to number 2, I'm actually going to turn the light back on because I still have this knife with me. The Ontario Rat 1 in D2, which is the bigger one. This is my personal Rat 1, the one that I use all the time for stuff around my house. Sorry, my flashlight's rolling into camera there. But I use it outside. I've resharpened it multiple times, and I have really, really beat on this thing. I just love it. This is the full-size one, 8.5 inches. It's not going to be for everybody because it's a full-size, but when you only bump up $2 from that one, making this a $40 knife, that's incredible. You get a lot more blade and a lot more handle, and honestly, you just get just a little bit more capable knife. You know, if you need an outdoor work knife that you can throw around and just beat on, this is your guy. The Rat 2 and D2 steel coming in at $40 at Blade HQ. Again, you can get all those different colors that you like. I think there's like pink and gray and OD green and black and carbon fiber, and there's black blades and there's satin blades. Pick your flavor. 40 bucks, you can't go wrong. Okay. Moving on to the number one knife. This was very difficult for me to do. A lot of people who have been watching my channel for a long time know exactly what it is. And this is unfortunately a knife that I don't have with me. It's one that I gave away a while back to a lucky winner. But I truthfully believe it deserves the number one spot as the best budget knife in existence right now, just in my opinion. And that's going to be the Bestech Lion. This is an 8-inch knife that has a very slim profile, coming in at about, what is it, 4.5 ounces, something like that. You still get that feeling of solidity, but it's still light enough to carry in an office, but it's heavy duty enough to use outside. It's running on bearings, so you get that great example of, you know, action and the feeling of a quality product, but you also have a blade shape that's drop point with a swedge and a flat, so you get that nice cutting belly, but it's that quintessential, you know, cutting blade. You get contoured G10 scales and full steel liners, so the durability's there. You get a backspacer that's steel that also doubles as a glass breaker for people who want to use that. Functional jimping up top. Just an all-around fantastic knife. This knife comes in at $52, which is right there in the middle of everything we've been talking about. The one that you're seeing here is in tan. It also comes in an OD green and a black. The one that I had was black, and I just love that knife. Everybody that I handed it to was like, that's just a handsome knife. You know, it's very plain, it's very straightforward, but it's a good-looking knife, and it's a quality, reliable tool. You can even remove that backspacer if you don't want the glass breaker. There's actually standoffs underneath, so you can remove that glass breaker and backspacer and give it that flow-through back standoff design. Easy to clean. Well, it looks like there's a proprietary spanner style pivot up front. That's actually the female side. The adjustment side, well, I don't know if you want to call it the female side, but the adjustment side is actually on the other side of the knife, and it's a simple Torx head. There's just nothing to hate about this knife. The liners are even skeletonized. I think they are. I can't remember. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. This is the most recommendable budget knife to me. I always recommend this knife, and the only time that I move on to something else is if somebody's looking for something smaller or the profile's just too boring for them, you know, if they want something a little more flashy. But I love this knife, highly recommended. I'm really impressed with Bestech, especially this past year. So anyways, guys, that is pretty much it. I don't really have anything else to say about any of these fantastic knives, but they're all great, and they're all knives that if you haven't had an opportunity to check out any of them, I definitely recommend them, even to people who are, you know, more used to the higher end part of the knife world by now. You know, just because it's always nice to have a good budget knife hanging around. But anyways, guys, that's going to be pretty much it for today's video. If you enjoyed this video or at least found it entertaining, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do of course have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, then please subscribe to my channel because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.